Hey y'all, it's Kyla Ariel and welcome back to my channel. Listen, I am so grateful that you are here. This is a place where all things lifestyle, becoming the best version of you, and doing so in a way that just feels most authentic to who you are, come together as one. I am just very excited to talk to y'all today, honestly. A part of me is like, I can't believe that I'm doing this and I'm still doing it. Another part of me is like, I hope y'all are enjoying it. But I think what makes me just like, I don't know, what makes me feel so fulfilled about all of this is that I genuinely have a passion for encouraging people to just be the best version of themselves. And I also thought that it was important to sit down and not only talk about like what that even means, but to also remind you that you can achieve that. Like you can achieve becoming the best version of who you are. So like I said, I'm just really excited to talk a little bit more with y'all today, to get to know one another. So get cozy, get comfortable. We're gonna talk, we're gonna chat, but let's do it. Let's dive in. Listen, y'all, we're halfway through the year. We're over halfway through the year, probably at the point of y'all listening to this. And honestly, it's on one hand, it's mind blowing, but on another, it's very, very exciting because it's reminding me of just how much time we have left. And if you find yourself thinking, where did the time go? Or like, I don't have enough time to do the things that I set out to do this year, please keep watching because this conversation is definitely for you. All right, so on the topic of just becoming the best version of yourself, I think it's important to just provide a little bit more clarity about what that means, because while it's a very like exciting term and exciting statement, it also feels just like a little open-ended, like very high level, right? Like, what does that mean? Like, I try my best every day. Is that not good enough? Like, am I not already the better version? Or maybe on one hand, you feel like you are ready for a change. You are wanting to do things a little bit differently. And I think both places are extremely fair. And I know from personal experience, at least, like what makes me feel my best self, or at least like I'm working towards a better version of me, is literally putting my best foot forward every day. And so I think that absolutely I can confirm that that is enough. I also feel like I'm on a never ending journey of wanting to just be the better version of me. And I'll be honest, like I don't necessarily know if that has like an end point, if there's a specific end goal, but I know that there are specific things that I set out in life, both from both from personal to professional, and everything in between, where there's a very like intentional walk that I am acting out on a daily basis. And I think that it all ladders back up to becoming the better version of myself. So to provide just like a very, very clear understanding that I do not think that becoming the best version of you is constantly pushing yourself when you are tired, or always thinking about how to be your most like high producing, high productivity, high productive self, right? Like I am not a believer in grind culture. Like I'm someone who I'm gonna get my rest. I'm gonna get 7 to 8 hours, maybe not 8, but definitely like 6 to 7 hours. And when my body says slow down, I'm going to slow down, right? And there are just like very specific things that I implement in my everyday routine, in my quarterly routine. Like I'm constantly having check-ins with myself to just reevaluate what that looks like. Like what do you value in this season? Like what matters to you most? Or is there any pivoting, or are there any pivots that are necessary to just get you closer to that point? And another great reminder is knowing that like it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to give yourself permission to want to do something differently. And I think this all ladders back up to becoming the best version of you, right? Because you're constantly evolving, you're constantly changing, and you're constantly getting to know yourself at a deeper level. So I think that sets the precedent enough for us to just move forward in the conversation a little bit, right? Like I said, we're almost done with the year. Like, okay, that's dramatic. Again, that's the way we be thinking. We're halfway through the year. We're a little over halfway through the year. And so time tells us that we're running out of it. We're running out of time. Like we don't have enough time left to do those things that we really wanted to do. And I'm here to remind you, like, you don't have to allow the calendar year to determine your motivation to start, or determine your motivation to do things differently. And I really, really, really started living by that this year, because I am giving myself permission at any point where I want to like sink back into myself and remind myself like, oh, you don't have enough time. Like you're not capable. You're not going to do this by this day. I'm here to remind you, but also tell myself like that is not true. And sometimes we look at the calendar year as like measurements for what we're able to accomplish and when, but time will continue on. Just as fleeting as time is, just as it comes and goes, like it will be here, and it will allow us another opportunity to just not even start something new, but just to finish, to continue things. And I think another like common misconception is that, oh, if I don't accomplish things by the time that I thought I would, what's the point of even trying? Like, what's the point of even starting? Because I'm guilty. I'm always guilty. I'm always that girl. And I think that's the first thing that kind of gets us or trips us up a little bit, right? It's like allowing the calendar year to be our motivation. Motivation in general, like I no longer subscribe, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I am someone who is a part of discipline culture because motivation is just not enough for me. Like I don't wake up every day feeling motivated. I don't wake up like excited that I get to do the things that I do. And while we should, right? Like there's a lot of like grace that is given to us on a daily basis. The truth is that motivation is fleeting. I think the literal definition is like the general willingness or desire of someone to do something. And it's like, what does that even mean? What the general willingness or desire, like the term general in general literally means like broad, like out of so many options, out of so many evolving and ever-changing things. And so yeah, motivation just isn't enough, and the calendar year isn't enough for me to determine my motivation off of. Like I think it is a little bit bigger than that. And so going back to the conversation of becoming your best self or your better self is just reminding yourself and giving yourself permission and understanding that like it's okay to want to be more disciplined. It's okay to want to choose something different in this season for yourself. And again, like sometimes we feel like everything else going on in the world like deserves our attention more than we deserve giving ourselves that attention. And I had to also realize that in this year 2023 that I really wanted to take a chance on myself and give myself the opportunity to just like try it and see what happens. Like try pouring in myself a little bit more or a little bit more than normal and see what the outcome is like. And it can be a little scary because as a person who is guilty of people pleasing, I'll be honest, as a person who is the one that shows up for everyone, it's hard to kind of like not completely pull away from those behaviors, but it's hard to kind of like shift and really like give myself that same energy. Because when you give yourself that same energy, you're basically telling yourself like, all right, self, I'm gonna try this for the first time. Like I'm gonna do the exact same thing for you that I'm doing for other people. And while it shouldn't feel scary, it kind of does, because now you have no excuse, right? Like you have no excuse but to put your energy back into yourself and really think about the things that you want to see happen for you. Like I know we all reflect and we daydream and we wonder what if, and that is okay. But at some point we have to change or turn the what if into I will. And so I think that another important part of becoming the better version of you is creating a plan to do so. Like that I can, that's you're officially telling yourself like, all right, I'm going to establish a plan. And oftentimes that can be a little nerve-wracking because we don't necessarily know exactly what will come of that plan. We don't necessarily know exactly what the next step will take. Like if there's a leap of faith that we want to make, a lot of times like what kind of prolongs that leap is not knowing what is on the other side. And I'm here to remind you that you're not going to know what's on the other side, no matter which way you shake it. But creating incremental steps that will compound over time for you to get to that point, to just kind of like give yourself some like, I don't know, I don't want to say building confidence over time, but almost like giving yourself those little like nuggets of proof that it can happen, the little nuggets of proof of concept, right? Me starting this YouTube channel was like, never would have dreamt of it in a million years, or maybe I would have, but never would have really like saw myself sitting down in front of a camera and talking to, y'all aren't imaginary people of course, but talking to like not having an audience and really having to like organize my thoughts. Like that is something that is 100% nerve-wracking for me, but the more that I sit down and do it, the more that I show up to, you know, write an outline or a script or create a flow for how the conversation will go, and then I'm actually sitting down in front of the camera and doing it, like that's the little nugget of proof that it can happen, right? And then uploading the video and seeing it live is like, oh, that's proof of concept that I can keep going. And a lot of times we have to make that first small step to show ourselves that it's possible and that we can keep going. And so again, laddering it back up to becoming the better version of yourself, it starts with understanding that, like, number one, time is on your side. Number two, all it takes is a plan. Like, it takes creating a plan to go. And that leads me to my next point, honestly. Get started. Like, that is the biggest literal piece of advice that I could give anybody that wants to be on this journey of becoming the better version of themselves is you just gotta go. You just gotta do it. You're not gonna know exactly how it looks. You're not gonna know exactly when those moments are where you have the big aha, like it's happening, I'm feeling it. And you're not gonna always feel it every day, right? But giving yourself permission to understand that, like, I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to press go, and I'm gonna leave it there, right? Like, I'm not gonna get in my head about it. I'm not going to expect instant gratification, and I'm not going to expect things to change the very next day. But what I will do is I will commit to showing up every day, no matter what it looks like, and pressing go. So when you do press go, one of the biggest things that I realized is that on my journey to becoming my better self is that there were a lot of, I won't say bad habits, but there are a lot of habits that I had to establish. There's no way around it. There's no fast track. It's literally committing to the process and setting boundaries for you to foster better habits. And I know for myself, when I first started this journey, it felt a lot like a lot of noise, and it felt like a lot of distractions. And I really, once I got to the root of it, I really started to understand there were better habits that I could create for myself to just be a little bit more intentional about my journey, really is what it was. And I remember starting corporate, or being a little bit fresh out of college and being in the corporate space. And one of, like, my not so good habits was waking up in the morning and immediately being on social media. To make matters low-key worse, being at my desk at work and being on social media. And that's not to say, like, if you're at work and scrolling, like, you're terrible, you don't deserve your job. Absolutely not what I'm saying. But for me specifically, what I did know about myself was that I was more productive in the morning than I was early afternoon, or, you know, at 3 p.m. when, y'all, I crash every day at 3 p.m. I be tired. But I realized that I was more productive in the morning. And so starting my morning in the office by scrolling on Instagram, scrolling on Twitter, whatever social platform, was just not the most productive thing for me, because I would already be giving my energy to this very, very, very strong energy suck, and I wasn't getting the things done that I needed to get done. And at the end of the day, no matter how we feel about these jobs, the one thing we need to do to show ourselves that we are capable of doing more is by stewarding over that role and just, like, getting really clear about what our goals are in that environment. And we could talk about that all day long. Like, that's another conversation. But as it relates to setting boundaries to foster better habits, with the social example, I still to this day do not get on social media until 12 p.m. And that's actually Monday through Sunday now, because what I realize is that there are just so many other things that I can be consuming in the morning that are just better for my physical health, better for my mental health, better for my emotional health, better for how focused I am. Like, there are literally so many things that I can be doing that doesn't involve being on social at crack of dawn, 8 a.m. And I realized way back then that that was a habit that I needed to nip in the bud in order to create a better habit that would just, you know, overall just foster a better quality of life. And it sounds dramatic, but the truth is, a lot of times the boundaries that we do need to set in order to create better habits are like the ones we're probably avoiding, right? Because it's probably that thing that makes you feel most comfortable. It probably is that thing that makes you feel like you don't have to get uncomfortable. You don't have to disrupt your normal flow. But one thing that I will tell you about becoming the better version of you is that you got to get uncomfortable and you have to disrupt your flow, because your flow is not serving you. Your flow is not serving you. I'll say it again and again and again and again. But it's all for the greater good. It's all for becoming that version of yourself that you think about, you daydream about, and that you really see coming to life. And a lot of times too, we take it back to the example of the fact that we're halfway through the year and you might feel like you're not doing any of the things that you wrote down on your New Year's resolution list, or you're not doing any of the things that you journaled about. A lot of times it's because we avoid getting out of that flow. We avoid kind of doing the hard, difficult things. And I just want to remind you and encourage you that on the other side is a much better version of you that is literally waiting. It's literally awaiting for you to come and grab it. And lastly, what has had the most tremendous effect on me becoming the better version of myself is getting rooted in God, okay? I would be remiss if I were to act like the person who I am today is 100% or can be 100% credited toward like studying or just showing up for myself daily and I never had any issues and everything has been perfect, because it's not true. But the one thing that has been constant in my life is the Lord, okay? And I will say it time and time again. But honestly speaking, creating a relationship that was rooted in God was just game changer for me, because not only does it give me a firm foundation at the end of the day, but it gives me something to go back to and almost like remember why all of this is necessary. God has literally given each and every one of us an individual purpose to serve out in this world, to expand his kingdom. And the thought of just having like my own purpose, not only is it exciting, but it's something that literally inspires me day in and day out, because it almost gives me no choice but to go out and do that thing. And when you are not grounded or rooted in anything that's strong and unshakable, it's easy to like teeter-totter, right? Like, I will be honest, it's easy to feel like you have an option. It's easy to just question, like, why am I even doing this anyway? Like, why am I making myself uncomfortable anyway? I'm not seeing the results instantly. I'm not seeing exactly why, you know what I mean, I'm being called to this thing. So why try? Like, I'm more comfortable in this position. Again, like I said before, that comfortability factor. In my closeness with God, I am learning that his provision over my life is greater than anything that I could ever imagine. Like, there are so many things that I could look back on to remember how much he has changed my life, how much things have changed for the better, honestly. But again, the one constant is the fact that I have a God-given purpose that I have to act out. Like, there are, whether it be people, whether it be things, where, you know, like, there's so many, there's a long list I can go down basically, but there is a reason why I am here, and there is a purpose that I and only I can act out. And so again, being rooted in that is just another reminder that everything attached to my purpose is literally bigger than me. And once I realized that, once I truly began to value the importance of having a relationship with God, it was like a domino effect, honestly. Everything began to become a little bit more clear, or a little bit clearer than the day before. And I genuinely began to be able to just take those necessary steps forward just a bit more confidently. And I really just want, again, to encourage you all today by reminding you that you are more than capable of becoming the best version of yourself, of becoming a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. And listen, we're gonna do this together. We're going to work together to really begin to establish not only the foundation, but really just begin to establish the necessary mindset shifts, perspectives have moving forward, very like practical process things that you can start to implement into your routine. Like, I am here for all of it. I'm here for the conversation. So it won't stop here. But again, I'm just here to remind you that you are not out of time. It is not too late. And you are more than capable of leveraging the remainder of the year to your advantage. So anywho, thank you for watching today's video. There will be more to come. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Honestly, truly what matters most is don't forget to subscribe. I don't want you to miss these conversations. I don't want us to just be like a one and done situation, okay? We're in this together now. We are friends, we are girls, and we're gonna keep this thing going. So listen, subscribe. I will see you next time. We'll chat soon. Bye.